Hello and welcome back to live coverage of the Apex Gaming Pioneer Open. I'm Tandy, joined by Bomat. Say hi, Bomat.
Hi, Bomat.
And we're in the finals. We got Mason Clark on one side with Mono Green Devotion. Why don't you tell us a little bit about his opponent?
Mason's opponent is Brad Prosciutto on Mono White Humans.
Prosciutto, huh? I start thinking about food around this time because it's past dinner time
Oh,
for
I
me.
know.
And when I hear prosciutto, I just want some.
Yeah. Well, the story of this finals here, all day we've seen a lot of mono green at the top tables, and one of the decks that's best poised to take advantage of that kind of metagame is mono white. So, in addition to these two mono green decks in the top eight, we also saw two mono white players, and Brad was able to make it all the way to the finals against a great matchup in Mason Clark. This is exactly what Brad wants to see, and Mason has his back against the wall.
Yeah, I mean, we just watched Dylan Ham be defeated by this mono white deck, though, and Rakdos normally has a pretty good matchup against this mono white deck. But maybe times are changing. Maybe mono white with Copper Code Vanguard, a little bit of ossification. The days of Brave the Elements perhaps behind us.
Yeah, well, not in this matchup. Brad's definitely going to be looking at that card to get past the large green monsters, and I'm excited to see how this one plays out.
All right, well, let's go ahead and head down to the feature match area where we'll crown a champion at our Pioneer Open here at Apex Gaming, Caldwell, Ohio. Make sure to check out the store when you can if you're in the area. It's a big play space. We're going to be having a very similar Magic weekend on September the 9th as well as October the 28th. We're going to be doing a 5K and 2K, both with Destination RCQs, both with invitations to the Apex Invitational in November. Mason Clark going to be on the play with Mono Green Devotion. Is taking a mulligan to 6. We'll see if Brad wants to keep his hand.
Looked pretty good to me. We've got lands, we've got creatures, even a Brutal Cathar.
No one can mess that up, right?
Yeah.
Especially not me. I mess it up all the time. Every time I play the aggro decks, I just feel stupid.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've been trying to get more experience lately.
Yeah, you were playing Burn on Friday at FNM, right?
Right, exactly.
Getting your sea legs.
Exactly. Gonna try to run that in some RCQs this season as well.
All right, Mason draws 7, has to put one back from the mulligan, decides to put an Oath of Nissa back. Maybe the hand already rolled up. Ooh,
And maybe
taking it
thinking
back.
better of it, we might be missing a second land here for Mason.
Seems like. All right, taking a peek.
Making sure
Back.
everything lines up just so. And still thinking about it.
I'm about to go yell at him. Mason.
There it goes.
There it is. All right, bottom. Turn 1. You got the elf? Of course you got the elf. Of course. We mulligan for it. That's the whole point.
Exactly. See how much pressure Brad can put on from these first couple turns. Basic planes, Dauntless Bodyguard.
All right, we're going to go back Mason's way. Second land? Yes, it's a Nykthos, a powerful second land. If he has Wolf Willow Haven, can maybe do some really juicy stuff over the next few turns. Might have wanted that to be a green source straight up this turn, but Wolf Willow Haven, a nice play. And we're going to go Oath of Nissa with mana floating. Wow, what a sequence after this mulligan. And starting on just one land. We find an elf we can deploy as well. So we're going to be juiced here on turn number 3.
Yeah, this is kind of the ideal start for Mason. Might be too much for Brad to keep up with.
Yeah, even something like Thalia, Garden of Thraben, maybe not good enough here. Instead, we're going to have a pair of 1-drops probably. Here's Hopeful Initiate. And we're going to play another Dauntless Bodyguard. And that one is going to protect probably Hopeful Initiate if I had to guess. We're going to reach for a die, reach for a piece of paper. It's okay. Mason knows. You just say, it's this one. Okay. Pink dice. My favorite. Yeah, there's tons of +1/+1 counters. Look, it's protected. There you go.
Good idea, Mason.
Yeah, nicely done. All right, so does this initial Dauntless Bodyguard want to attack is the question. I think the answer is yes. You're happy to trade for the Llanowar Elves, and there's no way Mason's going to block. He's about to go ballistic.
Right.
-2, 18. Your way, Mason. Let's do some comboing.
Mason already with 4 Devotion in play, plus these 2 Elves. Means the Haymakers can start coming down already on turn 3.
I think he drew a land, but I think it was a Lair of the Hydra, so that one's going to enter tapped at his disposal right now.
Oh,
He's
that
got.
is a Beseju, actually.
Ooh, okay, so it does come in untapped. Looks like we have a Plukernos and maybe a Old Growth Troll as well. Doesn't want to play both. Just going to go ahead and play Plukernos.
We have really seen Mason prioritize holding on to this Beseju as long as possible. We saw that in the Gruul matchup as well, worried about a Crone War, and here trying to save Pelurkanos from an ossification.
Yeah, and if Brad falls into the trap, goes for the ossification on the Plukernos, then he'll have the ability to unlock it mid-combat, block, eat something, and then on his turn, he can transform it, making a 6/6 giant lifelink reach creature that's going to be impossible for Prosciutto to beat. Tap
Right.
and 3. This looks like a Brutal Cathar, though, and that's going to take care of the Plukernos in a way the Beseju can't stop. And here comes a swing for 6. A counter is going to go on the Hopeful Initiate if he remembers his trigger.
And
And
everyone's favorite mechanic, Daybound and Nightbound. We've got the
Everyone's
token.
favorites. I'm happy about it. Trust me. All right, we're going to go back Mason's way. Brutal Cathar is maybe the most interesting of the Daybound Nightbound creatures because it actually cares
Right.
quite a bit on bouncing back and forth. I actually despise casting a Brutal Cathar on the backside. Like if I have it in hand
Oh, yeah?
and it's nighttime, it just doesn't have its ability. And when you're playing on Magic Online, when it's in your hand, it's not flipped. And sometimes you just forget. And when
Right.
you play it, it just comes in flipped and it doesn't do anything. It makes me sad.
We see a troll here for Mason, hoping not to see a second Brutal Cathar, and maybe no longer scared of ossification or has a
Just
better
wants to use Nykthos
payoff.
mana. All right, here's Oath of Nissa with a ton floating. We're gonna look at the top 3, and we got Kiora, Storm the Festival, Kiora. Now,
No choice, just a Kiora.
yep, and we can play it, but we can't really do much because we don't have a payoff and our hand's empty. But next turn could be explosive.
Mason untapping this Llanowar Elves, maybe signifying he would value using it to block for Kiora this turn.
Yeah, there's plenty of 1 toughness creatures on the other side of the table, and he wants to keep this thing as strong as possible.
Right.
Especially in the face of another removal spell on that Old Growth Troll.
We'll see what Brad can play to measure up.
Okay, we're going to draw for turn. Brad Prosciutto. See what he finds. Looks like Brave the Elements. That's pretty terrifying. We
Not
got
bad.
8 damage in play right now.
Plus, if it looks like some of these other cards in hand are Thalia's Lieutenants, Brad could be looking to end this game as early as next turn.
Well, if one of them's a Thalia's Lieutenant, that's 12 damage with
Wow.
a Brave the Elements. So we're going to go up, 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 and up. That's 3, 6, 9, 12. So Brave the Elements off the top. If he wants to burn it here, will be lethal. Does he see it? He's just doing the math. Wants to make sure. 3, 6, 9, 12 plus Brave equals GG.
Right. You can definitely get punished here if the math isn't just so. We'll wait for him to come to that conclusion.
All right, so declares attacks, but before blocks, we're going to announce Brave the Elements. Protection from green is going to leave Mason Clark at a big sad face, 0 life exactly. That Brave the Elements, one heck of a top deck. Bang, 0.
Perfect.
Game number 1 goes to Brad Prosciutto in the finals here of the Pioneer Open. We are 1 game away from crowning a champion and Brad locking a spot to DreamHack Atlanta in December. And both players here have already qualified for the Apex Invitational in November, so congratulations to both of them.
Yes.
As these players look at their sideboard, we know Mason's probably not going to do too much sideboarding, but for this mono-white player, why don't you tell me about the sideboard and tell me what you think is going to be coming in, Matt?
All right. Brad's sideboard for Mono White, we see 1 Archangel Elspeth, 1 Brutal Cathar, 2 Redain God of the Worthy, 3 Unlicensed Hearse, 4 Wedding Announcement, and 4 copies of Portable Hole. We are likely going to be starting out with these portable holes. In addition to taking out those early elves, they can even target Wolf Willowhaven. The 4th copy of Brutal Cathar, also important here. And I'm interested to see these Redain God of the Worthies also coming in to really slow down Mason's top end.
All right. Well, from Mason's side of things, out of this mono green devotion sideboard, is there anything that you think needs to come in the main deck over the Cityscape Leveler or one of those other expensive cards?
Absolutely. So some of the better choices include Essica's Chariot to
Mm-hmm.
try to get some extra blockers down, Sky Sovereign Console Flagship to continue controlling the board, and Filigree Silex for the same purpose. And actually, Cityscape Leveler is a good thought. A lot of the time, you'll see players trimming copies of either Oath of Nissa or even Cure Behemoth Beckoner due to Thalia on the other side of the table, really being able to make those spells a little less seamless than they are in most games.
All right, these players here are finishing their sideboarding, and while they're doing that, let me shout out our sponsors for the weekend. Thanks to Ultimate Guard for supplying each of our Apex Invitational qualifiers, including this one, with a huge swag bag full of awesome products like Cortex sleeves, Boulder deck boxes, and the finalists each get something super sweet, and the winner getting the Archive deck box that
Oh yeah,
holds so many decks, cubes, things like that, and keeps them safe from rain or sleet or snow, just like the postman. Huh? We got two other sponsors though. Thanks to G Fuel Energy. I wish I had drank one about 3 hours ago because I am crashing, and G Fuel Energy keeps you from doing that. We also want to shout out Wings Etc. for keeping us fed and happy. Whenever we're done with this event, I'm gonna head up there and I'm gonna have me some boneless wings. I'm gonna have me some cauliflower wings, maybe a little cheeseburger, maybe all of it. I don't know. I'm pretty hungry.
yeah. I'm about those pretzel bites.
Oh
We
yeah.
talked about that.
Oh yeah. Thank you for our sponsors. Now, um, these two players, Mason is one of our guests here. We invited him down, and we've had him on camera a bunch over the last 2 days. He actually
Right.
top aided the event yesterday, playing Rakdos Evoke, falling in the quarterfinals. Now playing what many consider to be the best deck in Pioneer
Right.
in Mono Green Devotion. So leaning into being quote unquote the bad guy, in
Absolutely.
a lot of these deck choices he's been choosing, playing the best deck, and I think that's probably added a little bit to his tournament finishes, but he's played really well.
Absolutely. For a long time, Mason has been a four-color Omnath enthusiast in Modern, and you see after this most recent Pro Tour, switching over to Rakdos Evoke, liking that deck's matchup spread a little bit more.
All right, as these players shuffle up here for game number two, Mason Clark going to be on the play. His opening hand's going to be looking to play Llanowar Elves early, some other mana acceleration, and then ultimately find Nykthos and do some combo-y stuff with Storm the Festival. Brad Prosciutto's, on the other hand, on the draw, going to be to play a couple of those one-mana creatures to get aggressive, and then hopefully have some portable holes, ossifications, things like that to slow down Mason's devotion and hopefully punch through enough damage to end the game. We saw Brave the Elements last game do some serious damage, killing Mason from 12 on a pretty gummed up battlefield. I'm curious if Brad Prosciutto has all copies of Brave the Elements still in deck, and if that's something Mason has to be on the lookout for every single turn.
Absolutely. Exactly what we saw last game is the reason a lot of players are bringing mono white to be able to build up these boards and then protect them with Brave the Elements. One of the best tools in the format against mono green devotion.
All right, Mason looks like he's going to keep his hand. Leads off with Elvish Mystic back Prosciutto's way. Turn one for him. Yields. Portable hole, going to eat that elf. So seems like
Nice.
those portable holes did come in. Mason draws another elf, plays the Nykthos. Wolf Haven is the cast. Prosciutto draws. Giant Killer is the find. Let's see if he has a second land. He does. It's a Ganjo. Here's Coppercoat Vanguard. That one on screen when you get a second Mr. Director, because this is the newest addition to the deck and one that I think is quite good. Coppercoat Vanguard, a 2-mana 2/2, gives ward to all your other creatures as well as a +1 power buff. It's a very nice one. He didn't hear me. It's okay.
Yeah. And Mason's follow up here, no third land, but does have two more elves. A second one gets in the hole. Brad really trying to control Mason's mana.
I mean, that's the way to do it, right? If you attack the mana generators, you're also attacking the Nykthos at the same time. It's one of the
Right.
reasons why whenever you see a Llanowar Elf, it's just on site. You have to just blast it.
Absolutely. So much of the format revolves around being able to kill Llanowar elves. Second,
Yeah.
Coppercoat Vanguard.
And these are each going to pump themselves. So we're going to be attacking over for 3, and each of them has Ward 1. Normally it doesn't pump or protect itself, but each of them shielding each other right now. Mason draws for turn, has access to 4 or 5 mana, depending on how he wants to sequence. Does have the land. Here's Cavalier of Thorns, going to be going digging. Already has a Nykthos, so probably wants to find just a basic forest. And he does. The rest go to the graveyard. And he storm the festivals? I don't think so.
Nope. I mean,
Alright.
it's one of Mason's other cards. So we do see the sideboard Sky Sovereign Console flagship in Mason's hand. That turn would have been a great spot to play it with 5 mana, but both of those
Ward.
Coppercoat Vanguards are giving each other ward, so Mason wouldn't have been able to kill a creature. So he's holding off for the time being.
Ward's a relatively new ability, but I'm quite a big fan.
Absolutely.
Hexproof, I always thought was a little too cheesy, and Shroud, I thought Shroud was fair but
Oh
boring.
yeah.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know what Shroud is, they stopped making Shroud creatures roughly 8 years ago, 10 years
Right.
ago, something like that. And Shroud is just an ability that's like no one can target it, not even me. And Hexproof was the replacement because people wanted to put cool enchantments on their creatures.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have a big turn here. Ossification takes care of that 3-drop, and then we have 2 Coppercoat Vanguards crash in for 6. Mason down to 11, back against the wall. Can he claw back? That's the question. We'll see if he has the answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cast Sky Sovereign, pay the 1. Seems reasonable.
Does seem reasonable. Mason though, without anything to crew the Sky Sovereign in play, means Brad's just gonna get a pretty good attack in, even without one of these Coppercoat Vanguards. So the pressure stays on for
Yeah.
Mason.
All right. Can't target the Hopeful Initiate because if he does, it has a ward 2 instead of a ward 1.
Right.
So now we're going to tap 1, 2, 3. Sky Sovereign off the Nykthos. That's not enough mana, huh? I
Looks
think.
like Mason has his cards piled up over there, like the Wolf Hill Haven. Just assumes that land is tapped. You know
All
what?
right. Well, let's
We're
go.
pretty sure these players.
No, Director, can you please just go have him tap his Wolfville Haven, just so that we have the game state correct? Because he fully tapped out to do it and pay for it or whatever. You know, the Nykthos isn't tapping for a ton of mana or anything like that. This is just
Right.
the whole.
The Lair of the Hydra.
All of the mana needs to be tapped. Do what he wanted to do. Nykthos isn't generating mana.
There we go. All right, figured it out. Tapped out for the Sky Sovereign. Coppercoat down.
Yeah. We knew he had 6. He paid 6, but he just didn't tap it all. That's fine. Now, we're going back Brad's way. Has 2 cards in hand, 4 mana, maybe a Brutal Cathar, maybe wants to tag the Elf. I saw a Giant Killer. Maybe he wants to
Right.
hold that to kill Sky Sovereign in response to crewing it.
Right, and if Mason did decide to maybe play a blocker and not attack with the Sky Sovereign, Giant Killer is a great way to keep that off the battlefield and keep a Sky Sovereign from being crewed, and just Brad's creatures might still be able to get through here, depending on how he wants to play his cards.
We're at least attacking for 4, and Mason has no defenses up, so he's going to be going down to 7, and a counter's going to be going on that Hopeful Initiate as long. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, that's a non-bow, isn't it? Because the
Right.
+1 power makes it a 2/2, so they're even stats.
Right.
Ugh.
No training,
Ugh.
just an attack for
Should we
4.
get Hopeful Initiate out the deck? I've been unimpressed lately. If I'm being
Yeah,
honest.
you know, you need that 1-drop density apparently, and here's the Giant Killer. No adventure, just played alongside a Brutal Cathar to take out this Elvish Mystic.
Yep.
Llanowar Elves. Dang it.
Got him. All right, so here's gonna be an attack for 4, and no
No.
training. Yeah.
Mason's on top of
Yeah.
it.
Mason says no train for you, but it is still 4 damage. I'm down to 7.
You know, the Giant Killer's still here, still going to be able to tap a blocker next turn, but the important interaction here is with the vehicle of Sky Sovereign. If Mason plays, for example, a Pelucranos to try to block, if Brad taps that Pelucranos, Mason could just crew and still have that blocker available in Sky Sovereign.
Yeah, I think if he draws Pluganos or whatever, he's just gonna attack with the Sky
Right.
Sovereign. I think that's a stronger play, and he does have the Pluganos, so does have that available. If he wants to kill Bruticathar, he can make another chump blocker with the Llanowar Elves, but that's gonna allow Pursuito to just use that Giant Killer at will to tap Sky Sovereign forever. That's just like a pretty bad proposition if you ask me. So I think killing Giant Killer makes the most sense. It's gonna leave you pretty low on life, but you need another blocker to not be dead. Maybe he's got one, maybe not. All right. Coppercoat Vanguard also taxing if you target anything else.
True. Mason just back against the wall here, has no game losses left to give if he wants to win this match and the regional championship qualification.
All right, we're tapping 2.
Another Wolf Willow Haven.
Okay, okay. We're gonna tap 3. A Pelucranos. Looks like he's gonna go for your play, the no crew. Oh,
Nope.
oh, I lied.
Still has that Nykthos to pay for the ward. And
Yep.
does want the Llanowar Elves back.
That's gonna give him a blocker. So not dead next turn.
But close to it.
Yeah.
6 power in play. Mason could go down to 1, but that's super risky. We might be seeing this Llanowar Elves just jump in front. And Brad is on the verge of winning this game, but that's a land off the top.
Unfortunate, but still potentially able to win over the next 2 turns. Doesn't have 7 power yet here, only 6. I kind of like just swinging for 6 and forcing,
Absolutely.
semi-forcing the block. Attacking for 4 is pretty solid too. Either way, I think Mason's gonna take it if it's only 4, and he's probably gonna block if it was 6.
Right, and
close to.
leaving this Giant Killer up does let Brad use it twice in this turn cycle. Maybe trying to completely neuter that Sky Sovereign, keep it from ever being active in combat.
Yep. And then so basically also Brad can wait if Sky Sovereign never gets crewed, he can go in step, tap Pelucranos, and then even if you crew the Sky Sovereign, it just doesn't matter, right?
Exactly.
And then on your turn you attack, you tap stuff, blah blah blah. And Mason's gonna block. We're gonna soak 2 of it down to 5. So still alive, still kicking.
Yeah, and Mason does have 5 Devotion in play, getting him up to 8 mana just on the battlefield right now. So most of Mason's deck is fairly live. See what he can pull out of the hat.
Better be a rabbit. We're gonna tap Pelucranos. 1 response will crew. And then we can attack and we can kill Giant Killer. And there's only 4 power in play, so we can actually just get into this. So Brad Pursuto, just a massive mistake here. Just biting too quickly on the tap effect, and that Sky Sovereign. Oh, is he not attacking? I'm unclear on what's happening here.
Yeah, this is certainly interesting. Yeah, not totally sure what we're seeing. Okay, so that.
I guess so. Nykthos made a bunch of mana.
Oh.
I guess maybe we tapped on upkeep, and we went crew, and then we got to transform the Pelucranos, attack, gain 6. Just a massive mistake from Brad Pursuto. Just bit way too early. And now the game is well over in favor of Mason Clark. Just a huge mistake, but,
Wow.
it happens. But now Mason Clark, with life back in him, he was on the brink of defeat, and one small misstep caused him to win the game, and now we are on to the game 3 here in the finals. We got Mason Clark on mono green. We got Brad Pursuto on mono white. Mono white's going to be on the play for game number 3.
Right, and we've been talking about mono green sideboarding a lot today. A couple matchups where maybe not that many cards come in. We definitely saw Sky Sovereign have a huge impact. Mason never had to draw a Karn, resolve it, pay a full 9 mana for that effect. That Sky Sovereign took down 3 creatures and did 12 damage to Brad in the main deck.
Sky Sovereign's great. Love that card.
Absolutely. The boat.
All right, these players here about ready for game number 3. Mason doing a quick last couple bit of shuffling, and Brad already ready to go. And there we are, little cut skis.
Do a shuffle.
I don't know what to say. This has been a really good weekend, really fun weekend. We're in our last game of the weekend, and I couldn't be happier to be here. Couldn't be happier to hang out with some good friends and good food tonight.
Absolutely.
And I hope y'all join us next time when we do this again in about a month on September 8th, 9th, and 10th. It's going to be a good weekend. But for now, we got the finals. We got game number 3. Brad, Prosciutto on the play. Let's take a look at the opener. I see 1 planes, maybe?
2 planes, I think.
Okay.
Brad,
2
a fan
lanes
of
is a
these.
good number.
Yeah. Brad, a fan of these Midnight Hunt Crimson Vow basics. Don't look much like any basic land you've seen before. Mason gonna take a mulligan here on the draw.
A classic Mason Esports Clark strategy. Got to
Right.
aggressively mulligan. Got to get that Llanowar start. If you don't, you're gonna get whooped. Thalia on the play, devastating if you don't have an elf.
Right. And yeah, the game is definitely looking in Brad's favor for this game 3. Uh, on the play against mono green, match up your targeting.
Yeah, we thought that on game number 2, but a
That's true.
tricky little Mason turn and a small misstep from Brad, and here we are, game number 3. So Mason going to take a look at this 6-card hand. Haywire Might was brought in. That's interesting. He saw a bunch of portable holes. He thought, oh yeah, give me
Absolutely.
my little bug man.
Yeah, we've seen Mason prioritizing Beseju in a couple games so far, and Haywire Might is a great way to play the same effect. Still instant speed, rescue your creature, and threaten a block out of an ossification or a portable hole.
All right, deciding what to put back. Looks like Cavalier Thorn's going to go on the bottom. And with Elf, 2-land, Pelucranos, Haywire Might, looks pretty solid. No 1-drop from Brad Pursuto. That's got to be such good news if you're Mason.
Absolutely.
And now, even if you have something like Portable Hole, it's so much worse on the play on turn 2 with no 1-drop. So we're just going to lead with Thalia, Guardian of Thraben.
Thalia, good against a lot of cards in mono green, not Pelucranos.
Oh, it's a big boy. But we do see Cure in hand for Mason, and that is currently shut off because he only has access to 3, and it does cost 4 under that Thalia tax.
All right, so we'll see what Mason deploys. Wolf Haven, not super impressive into the Thalia, but does look like he would rather develop his mana than get this Pelucranos down. As we can see, does not have another land in hand.
All right, back to Brad Pursuto. Has land number 3. Does he have Brutal Cathar? Does he have some way to kill the Wolf Haven? 2-mana Portable Hole. Maybe just going to put a pressure with Copper Code Vanguard. This looks like that's what he's leaning on. And no 1-drop to follow it up. But here's an attack for 3. Mason down to 17. If you're Mason, you're pretty happy with this play. You're not getting disrupted too badly.
Right.
And now you can play your Kiora. And it's got so much loyalty.
Best case scenario for Mason here, if he had had a land to play, could play both the Kiora and the Pelucranos. But it looks like he missed for this turn and has to make a tough call. Maybe a Kiora plus a Haywire Might? Maybe Pelucranos plus Haywire Might?
I thought Pelucranos plus Haywire Might would be kind of cool.
Right.
That way, even if they have ossification, you can answer it on the following turn and gain some life.
Exactly, but you know, the best one of the best cards Brad has in this matchup is Brutal Cathar. There's very little Mason can really do about that, except of course for Sky Sovereign.
Sky Sovereign is sweet. All right, 4 mana for this Kiora. It's gonna come in at 7 loyalty. We can untap 2. We can play Haywire Might, and we're gonna pass the turn back. Back Pursuto's way. Mana floating, but doesn't do anything. Here we go. Untaps.
Draws Brad, keep the pressure on.
Finds a land. Maybe double 2-drop incoming. A pair of Thala's Lieutenants could be pretty scary. And then the question is, do you want to pressure the Cure or do you want to pressure life total? At 17, that's pretty high. It's none of the above. That's 3 mana ossification. What are you going to target? The Cure.
The Planeswalker.
Okay, nice. And that's actually really good for Mason because he can unlock it for just 1 mana and then draw a card off. Pelucranos, if he finds Nykthos, he can go ridiculous.
Right.
Straight
Another
ridiculous.
sideboard card in Haywire Might coming up big here for Mason.
5 damage across at 12. Haywire Might could put him back up to 14. Finds a Nykthos.
Wow.
This could be Mason's tournament. What a draw. He sits up in his seat. We lean forward in our chairs, and we want to see what Mason is about to do to this man. Brad, you better call your mama and tell her you about to get murdered.
Yeah. You see chess players plotting out their moves on that chessboard beforehand. Mason's doing the exact same thing. Just pointing the cards, giving Brad an idea of what he's thinking. And looks like Haywire Might targeting ossification is at near the top of Mason's list. Here we go.
I like an attack first. I like to be as efficient as possible. Attack for 1.
Yeah.
And what?
It's a Haywire Might.
It's a Haywire Might. You know how much 1 damage is? It is 5% of your life. Okay?
Yeah, well, this deck usually wins by 400%.
Well,
So
sometimes you squeak by. You know, you never
that's
know.
true.
All right, here we go.
Nykthos for 3.
We're gonna play. It looks like another Wolf Haven. We're gonna untap. We're gonna play A Plukernos. We're going to draw a card.
All right. Looked like another forest for Mason. Not maybe not the gas he was looking for. We do get in for one.
All right, all right. One damage. I'll settle. I'll settle. All right, here we go. Back Pursuito's way. Going to tap some of these lands. Looking for maybe some sort of another ossification or something to get rid of the Flukernos. Unfortunately, we're not able to knock down the Thassa. We're going to target the Planeswalker again. If you're a Mason, you're super happy with that because you have another one in hand. And you
Right.
still have a giant blocker.
Right. And Pelucano staying in play means this Nykthos is still totally juiced up. See what Mason can put together.
All right, finds Cavalier of Thorns. With a ton of mana at his disposal, if he is careful, he might be able to figure out a way to kill this turn. He can find another Nykthos off of that. Cavalier of Thorns could also maybe mill over something like Storm the Festival. Might be a little difficult in the face of the Thalia, but he has access to a ton of mana right now, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some fireworks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6 devotion here. Before even activating this Kiora, Mason's gonna start with a 4 mana Kiora Behemoth Beckoner.
All right, and then has land.
There we go.
Nykthos, and now we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. We untap. We go 5. We go 12.
12 mana for Mason here. Enough to slam the Cavalier with plenty left over.
Yeah, 5 left. Or sorry, 7 left. We're gonna draw a card. It's Boseiju, I think. And then we look at the top 5. We get a land. All right, we can't do anything super gravy here, and
Yep.
we didn't find the
No Nykthos and nor no Storm the Festival.
yeah, so looks like we're going to be mostly done for the turn, but with the Boseiju in hand, we're just going to transform the Pelucranos,
yeah.
and now it can attack. We're going to take 2 life from it, but then we're going to attack for 6, gain 6, and Mason well on his way to claiming victory here at the Pioneer Open, sponsored by Apex Gaming.
Right, and Brad maybe regretting at this point not targeting that Pelucranos with the ossification now that it's hit him for 6 and gained Mason 6.
All right, well, let's see if Brad can claw his way back in. We have Adeline. This is a big threat. We have Thalia's Lieutenant. This is going to juice the board. Cavalier of Thorns is still pretty big.
Right.
And I don't know if you can attack through it too well. At 18 life, you're also not threatening lethal. This might be a bad attack, but we'll see if Brad wants to try to put pressure or if he's going to pass it back to Mason.
One of Brad's ways back into this game, just like in game 1, if he can make his board as large as possible and then draw a Brave the Elements.
It's harder to win like that after sideboard when you have portable holes and ossifications and things. You know, your critical mass of threats is so much lower and smaller than it was before. And it doesn't seem like Brad can figure out a good attack here. So we're going to go back Mason's way.
I wonder if we see, if Mason doesn't draw anything, a juiced up Lair of the Hydra just to keep Brad all the way on the back foot. Let's see what Mason's plans are.
All right, well, Mason
double checking life totals.
Taking a look at his hand. It looks like we just have either Elf Boseiju or Forest Boseiju. I like firing up a big lair. I really do. It's an elf. Now we can go Nykthos.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 devotion right now, plus some untapped elves and lands.
So you can easily make the Lair of the Hydra a lethal by itself with Nykthos and Kiora.
Right.
And so I think that's what we're going to do.
I think Mason here is actually prioritizing using the Kiora to maybe untap an extra blocker.
The Pelucranos has a 6/6 lifelink blocker would be quite strong. Here comes a swing. I know Adeline is big enough to trade with one of the things. Maybe, maybe not. Let's see, 4, 5. So it's only a 5/5.
I believe a 6/6 with that Coppercoat Vanguard and the counter.
Okay. Look, we're going to talk about arithmetic. Okay, it's not my strong suit. Never was. Didn't claim it to be.
So Brad has an opportunity to get this Pelucranos off the battlefield, but that doesn't leave him in a great spot with the worm tokens coming right back.
Yeah, the worm token's pretty scary. By themselves, just 3/3s, but this lifelink from the Pelucranos is +6, and then 3 more lifelink on one of the 3/3s. The Lair of the Hydra actually can be very similar in this vein. If you
Yeah,
kill it,
absolutely.
yeah, if it dies, if the Plukernos is still in play, similar thing happens. You get the 2/3/3s.
Do wonder if that was part of Mason's motivation to not fully juice this lair of the Hydra with Kiora or the rest of his elves and lands. Uh, a block from Brad to kill this lair could put him in a significantly worse situation than he might be accounting for.
I think it's just big enough. Like, if any two connect, I think it's going to be lethal, something like that. Or maybe not. Like, obviously, you can take 11 from Cavalier and Plukernos and chump block Lair, but.
Yeah. All right. Lining up against this Plukernos.
Okay.
Maybe a double block is what Brad's thinking about here.
Okay.
Well, we'll see if Mason brought enough worm tokens. Hydras, rather. These aren't even.
Look.
Silly me.
Look at the armor, right? That's Elish Norn armor. Elish Norn just knighted Plukernos to be the next Wormcoil engine. All right.
Right.
It's just slightly different.
Creatures in the graveyard. Mason is on top of it. Token, and two of each. There we go.
Oh yeah.
Brad just way behind in this game.
This game is all but over. Let's see if Brad Prosciutto has a Wrath of God effect in his deck. If not, I believe Mason Clark is going to be your champion here at the Apex Gaming Pioneer Open. He's going to be rich. Brutal Cathar. Does that do anything? Not enough.
Surely not.
We also have a Thalia backup. Hits the Brutal Cathar. Or sorry, Brutal Cathar hits the Cavalier of Thorns.
Right,
It's
so
daytime.
These two creatures block two of the worms, and then the other two. Oh, there is that Thalia's Lieutenant in play, so two worms can be blocked. There is not lethal in play for Mason just yet, and the Boseiju in his hand not doing anything at the moment. Mason has a little work to do. Brutal Cathar pretty good here, actually.
Yeah, but each of these creatures on Prosciutto side has the block of 3/3 because let's see, if you attack with all four. Let's see, if you block 3 tokens, you take 5. If you block 2 tokens, you take 8. No, you take 7. So an elf is not in danger. You have to block only the 3/3s.
Right, and if Brad is forced to block with this Brutal Cathar, that's more gravy for Mason, getting that Cavalier back.
All right, well, we're doing wild stuff, so it doesn't even matter. We're going to go Nykthos. We're going to untap it. Mason showing everyone why Mono Green is the boogeyman. We're casting Storm the Festival from the graveyard. We're still going. We had to pay 1 extra for it, but you know what? We had plenty to pay. Thanks to Nykthos. Thanks to the Kiora. Untapping the Nykthos. Tons and tons of mana. We're going to draw a card. We're going to resolve Oath of Nissa. It's going to get Garden the Great Crater. How much mana is floating? He's writing it down on a piece of paper, but I don't know. Maybe it's 0. He did spend 11 on a Storm.
Right. I want to see this pressure from Mason try to put Brad in the chokehold, close this one out.
The moment Brutal Cathar steps in front of this 3/3. All right, he packs it in. Brad Prosciutto defeated Mason Clark is your champion. Congratulations to him taking down the Pioneer Open here at Apex Gaming at the home store in Caldwell, Ohio. Shout out to him, but also congrats to Prosciutto on his second place finish. He is also qualified for the Apex Invitational in November. So shout out to both these players. Congrats to Mason Clark. And let's go get him for an interview. You want to go grab him for me?
Sounds good.
All right, thank you, Matt. Appreciate you. All right, let's head on back to the booth. Mason, super jazzed up, extremely happy. And you know what? You know why he's so happy? He's happy because he gets this nice expressive iteration playmat. Come here. Come here. Put this on. Put this on. All right.
Bad stack.
All right. Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well played.
Yes.
Awesome finals. Watching you play Mono Green Devotion, it really shows that you just have hundreds of hours with this deck, you know. And we talked a little bit about this before the top 8 started, and I know that you've been playing it at locals. You've been crushing like every event that you've been playing with this deck. Tell me about your experience today and your experience this weekend at Apex for me.
I think I played really, really well today, except for the first game of the top, where I could have played both my 3 drops, and it was just A lot of noise. I should have slowed down. I was trying to play quick, and I shouldn't have. And luckily, I was able to clutch it up. Had a great time at Apex. It was super fun to see everybody. Definitely excited to come out to the Invitational at the end of the year. I was telling you
Boom.
that was my goal. I wanted to
Yeah.
come out and game.
Corey was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And you just whipped him twice.
I know.
man.
So it's fun. When I first started grinding, one of my first GPs, I played against Corey when we were both live for top 8. He beat me pretty embarrassingly, and then I got him twice this weekend and got on the shuffleboard on Friday. That's the 3-0 where I come from. Anyways,
All right.
but yeah, it was great. I loved coming out to the event. I'm excited to come back in the fall, and maybe some other ones too, when time allows.
All right. Well, congratulations to you. This is your big reward, I would say, the Expressive Iteration Playmat. This is given to every winner of the Apex Invitational qualifiers. You too can find an Apex Invitational qualifier near you if you go to apexgaming.gg. And yeah, you're rich now.
I know.
Congrats.
Full of everything I do and all the clout. Mason E. Clark on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
That's what really matters.
Plugs.
Yes,
plugs.
yes,
Go,
of
go,
course.
go.
Yeah. Mason E. Clark on X/Twitter is where you can find me. I do coaching. You can reach out to me via that. I do a podcast called Constructed Chrism. If you're someone who's grinding Magic and trying to take the next step, that is what our podcast is here to help you with. We had a bunch of people who, some people I've coached and doing here at the weekend. One of them won the Reese Q.
Yeah, so
It was
Robin
great.
Gonzalez is one of your pupils, and,
Yeah.
and she won the Reese Q
She-
yesterday.
Yes,
So
yeah.
awesome.
And then another guy who listens to the podcast lost in the finals today. Beat Spirits twice with Monogreen. Congratulations to him. He talked about how, did what he had to do, kept his head down, didn't tilt. Love that stuff. And yeah, it was great. And, I love Magic. I love content. I love gaming. And it was so great to come out here. Normally I do this sort of thing these days, but it was good to get in the streets and battle.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the reason you came to this event. We'll be honest, you were tapped to do coverage for Nerd Rage Gaming's big event in Detroit that they had this weekend. Actually, one of our all stars, Ryan, he ended up making top 4. at the event.
Yes, he crushed
Ryan,
it.
super strong player. He actually drove back and he stopped by. We're gonna hang out with him tonight.
Yeah, he was talking to me earlier. Yeah.
So
Very nice man.
yeah, so very excited to have you, and I hope we see you in the future, and I'm
Yes.
glad we'll see you at the Invitational. Yeah?
Yes, I'm very excited to game.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mason.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Have a good night, and we're gonna get Bomat back in here. We're gonna close you out. All right.
Best stack.
Well, it's hard to argue. It also was first and second in the Reese Q today, so deck's good. Wonder who built that deck.
You know what? I'll take credit. It was me. I did it.
You did it. All right. Good job. Okay, so let's recap. We had 130 unique participants yesterday in our $5,000 Modern Open, biggest event that we've had at Apex by a wide margin. We hit over 1,000 viewers on stream yesterday. Just another benchmark for the stream. We're super stoked to be working with Apex and helping them grow their reach and grow their audience, as well as just promoting their store. This place is great.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to oversell it, but I don't think I can, man. It's just like a fun place to be. The people love what they do, and the vibes are immaculate. And what else can you ask for?
Yeah, this was my first time up here in Caldwell, Ohio for an Apex Gaming event, and I love it. I can't wait to come back and see everybody again, play some Magic, talk about some Magic.
We'll have Ross and you do fisticuffs in the backyard to see who gets to be the co-host next time, huh?
Fisticuffs or Can Jam?
Can Jam sounds like more fun.
Yeah.
Before we go, though, I haven't okayed this with Kyle, but I know Kyle is going to love this, right? So, for those of you who are big fans of Disney, there's a brand new game coming out soon called Disney's Lorcana. And I am going to be working with Apex over the next few months, and we're going to try to do some competitive tournaments. We're going to maybe try to do an invitational where we invite some people to come up and play a smaller event. And we're going to try to jumpstart Lorcana tournaments. Okay, so keep an eye out for that if you're interested in Lorcana. Bomat and myself, we've already started a new project called The Lost Boys. You can find us on Twitter at The Lost Boys LOR, and we're going to be on YouTube as well, making a podcast, and we have articles on our Patreon. It's Lost Boys, basically all across the board. We thank you so much for Apex for having us. Thanks to the Huck brothers for hosting us and making sure we have a smooth show and a really fun weekend. And thank you all so much at home for joining us for these long hours but fun hours here playing Magic: The Gathering, one of the best games that's ever been made. But for Bomat, thank you so much for being my co-host this weekend. This was your first commentary gig, and you killed it, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Todd.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us here for the weekend. We're going to have another weekend very similar to this one on 9/9, as well as another one on 10/28. That's September 9th and October 28th, right before Halloween. The Invitational is going to be in November. I'm not sure which date yet. I got to look. But thank you so much for watching. Make sure to tune back in. Make sure to come out to Caldwell, Ohio. It's a great store and a great place to meet friends and like-minded people who play games, and we love you. And we'll see you, and good night. I'm out of here.